Hi, I'm Jackie, and this is Ruth, and we are Generation with a Name. And I just wanted to come to you today and speak to you a little bit about Psalm 78, 1 through 8, and why this psalm is very important to our family, and hopefully it will become very important to your family. It is full of parental instruction, and why this psalm, along with Exodus 33:17, became very instrumental in the naming of our company, Generation with a Name and the Freedom Girls, and how God instructed us, or why God instructed us to use biblical history as a means to equip parents to teach their children biblical history in the home. And Psalm 78, as you know, um, is a psalm of instruction covering Israel's history from Egypt, from the Exodus in Egypt to the time of King David. And some of you may be asking, well, is that relevant to me today as a parent? Well, you bet it is. Well, first of all, it comes from the Bible. And every scripture is inspired by God for the training of righteousness. And that comes from 2 Timothy 3:16. And so if you know anything about Israel's rebellious history, then you'll understand why God instructed Asaph to pen this psalm. It is a reminder to the rest of us what our responsibility is as parents. And as you read Psalm 78, 1 through 8, you will notice, unfortunately, that the failure to instruct the children lies with the parents, but more specifically, it lies with the father. They weren't doing their duty of teaching these rascal fathers them. And contrary to popular belief, the instruction of our children does not lie with Sunday school teachers or youth pastors or the church in general. The church is very important in the instruction of our children, but the sole responsibility of teaching our children scripture, parents, lies with us. And the psalmist is inviting us to listen very intently and purposefully to a parable from of old. And I love what J. Hampton Keithley says, that Old Testament history of God's dealings with Israel is revelatory, full of spiritual truth that needs to be understood and applied to our own lives. And that is so true. Verse 4 is a warning to us. You'll see in verse 4 that it's definitely a warning not to hide these truths from our children or the next generation. So, what are we to do? We are literally being commanded to tell this generation, our children, and the next, the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and the wonders he has done. But why are we to do this? Throughout history, we see God dealing with his people through the redemptive process through stories of the Bible. In this interaction, God has so mercifully with us, his creation, teaches us about the struggles between God and man, and man versus man. Through these revelations, God reveals his character to us, his faithfulness, his grace, his compassion, his mercy, his love, his tenderness towards his creation, but also his justice. And in verse 5, God clearly advocates this teaching to the parents, like I said earlier, specifically the fathers. And other people are involved as the church, but the responsibility falls primarily on us as the parents. Verse 78:6, where we are commanded to teach our children so they in turn will teach their children. And what we teach our children will be our legacy to our grandchildren. I love that. What we do, parents, impacts generations upon generations. We must ask ourselves, what are we teaching our children? And this is the best part, verse 7. So they should set their hope in God and not forget the works of God. This is a multi-generational command. Too often our children put their hopes in non-eternal things, mine included. But we read here that our hope is in God. And finally, in verse 8, we see that what our children could become if we are not obedient. A stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation whose heart was not steadfast, whose spirit was not faithful towards God. Now, I don't want this for my children, and I'm sure that you don't either. The Old Testament scriptures are relevant to our families. They point to the work and person of Jesus Christ and have been entrusted to us to teach our children. Parents, let's rise to the call of action of training ourselves and our children to be faithful to the person of Jesus Christ. So I have a call to action to you. I want to do something fun. And I want to give you the opportunity to win our 18-inch Ruth doll and her accompanying book, The Story of Ruth Through a Child's Eyes. I'm challenging you to read the book of Ruth from the Bible. It's 4 chapters, and your children will learn many things from it. They will learn honesty, integrity, what it means to be loyal and honorable, and you'll also discover how a man should treat a woman, and that is a great conversation to have with your daughter or your son. We want you to post your family's favorite part on our Facebook wall at the Freedom Girls. Then meet me here on Friday, April 13th, for my 3rd video on the importance of biblical history. At the end of my video, I will name the winner, and the winner will be picked at random and not by anybody in our family. So we will be praying for you this week for the next 2 weeks, as you read probably the greatest love story in the Bible, if not history. Have a great 2 weeks, and I will see you back here on Friday, April 13th.